Hi, my name is Merlin Chappuis, gallery teacher here at the Detroit Institute of Arts.
And I'm Dr. Chassica Kirchhoff, assistant curator of European Sculpture and Decorative Arts.
And today we're here in the Great Hall of the Detroit Institute of Arts to talk to you about a very special object that Dr. Kirchhoff wants to introduce to us from our Arms and Armor collection. Dr. Kirchhoff?
Today I'd like to talk about our calendar sword, which was made shortly before 1576.
Now, what makes this sword so special?
What makes this sword remarkable is that it has a calendar for the years 1576 to 1579 etched on both sides of the blade.
Now, why would someone want a calendar on a sword in the first place?
Well, this sword would have been a useful item as well as an important symbol of its owner's identity. Swords like these were carried by soldiers as well as their leaders on military campaigns across Europe.
So what's on this calendar exactly? Is it like one of ours, or?
It's actually a calendar of feast days dedicated to Catholic saints. Etched on the blade are the names of saints, each associated with a particular day. The owner of this sword would know which saint to pray to for special protection on a day that he went into battle or faced other dangers. Unlike a fragile book, this sword would have already been an important part of the owner's equipment. Adding a calendar to such a significant possession would be like adding a planner to your smartphone.
Now, you've talked about etching when it comes to sword blades. For the viewers, what is etching?
Etching is a decorative technique where a design is scratched into a resistant coating, usually wax, that's applied to metal or glass. The etcher then applies acid to the surface of the object, and this acid eats away in the places where the design was scratched, leaving patterns, pictures, or inscriptions. Today, etching is well known as a technique for creating artworks on copper plates that can be printed onto paper. However, the earliest European etchers specialized in decorating armors and swords like this one. Just before 1500, Daniel Hopfer became one of the very first artists to make an etched print on paper. He was an armor decorator in Augsburg who worked with some of the most famous armorers of his day, and he realized that he could use ink to transfer the designs he etched onto steel to sheets of paper.
Now, what can you tell us about our sword in particular? Like, where does it come from?
This sword bears a still unidentified maker's mark that connects it to southern Germany. The decorative patterns and inscriptions on the sword also connect it to that region. Like most weapons from the 1500s, long after the time when it was used, it became part of a collection in England. Eventually, it was owned by the important collector and newspaper owner William Randolph Hearst before a Michigan collector bought it and gave it to the museum.
Now, I understand there's an interesting history regarding the hilt of this sword and its maker.
Absolutely. Sometime in the 20th century, probably around 1950, the sword found its way into the Armorer's Workshop, now the Arms and Armor Conservation Lab at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. There, armorer Leonard Heinrich added this hilt in a style popular in 16th century Germany. So, though this hilt is a modern addition, it helps us to envision how this sword may have looked during the 1570s, when it was traveling on campaign with its owner. Indeed, though a few other calendar sword blades survive in collections in Europe and the US, many of these also have later hilts, showing us that the blades were valued not only during the Renaissance, but later.
Now, Dr. Kirchhoff, why do you think it's so important to study these types of objects and arms and armor as a field?
Objects like this sword are not only impressive examples of skillful craftsmanship and design, they also connect us to historical moments and experiences in ways that help us to develop empathy as well as new understandings of the past. When I look at this sword, I think of how important it would have been for the person who carried it. For him, it wasn't just a weapon, but an expensive and elegant work of art that brought pride. And, through the calendar of saints' days, a source of spiritual protection that could lend courage and comfort.
Well, Dr. Kirchhoff, thank you so much for showing us this amazing sword here today.
It was my pleasure.
And for those of you watching, you can come see this sword, as well as other examples of European arms and armor, here in the Great Hall at the Detroit Institute of Arts. See you later.